Hi everybody, Jane here, and today I am talking about fearlessness. Now, fearlessness is a tough topic because fear is a very natural, healthy thing. A lot of us have anxieties and fears, particularly as writers. What if we put out a book that nobody likes? What if nobody reads the book that we put out? And I think what we need to remember is that those things are totally possible, but they're not the end of the world either. You very well may put out a book nobody reads. Does that mean that nobody will ever read any book you've ever written? No. You might put out your first book and hear crickets chirping, but you might put out like 3 or 4 books and then have people start to find your first book. And, it can be a beautiful situation. You don't necessarily know ahead of time what is going to happen with your writing. You don't know what's going to happen in the long term of your career, and you've got to think that way when you're looking at content. Certainly don't put out anything you'd be ashamed of. Don't try to rush through and just be like, well, nobody's going to look at this anyway, so I'm just going to put out whatever quality. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is that you be aware of the fact that your writing is important to the world. Your art is important to the world. And putting that out there is going to be scary because your art is not for everyone. I'm a book reviewer, and there are books my friends love and books that I totally don't. And on the other hand, there are books that are my favorites and that my friends or people I know are like, I didn't like it. As a matter of fact, I just watched booktuber Books and Lala read the top 5 rated books on her TBR. So these are books that she'd put on her TBR, and the Goodreads rating was the 5 highest. And she didn't love any of them, and there are clearly ones that everybody else really loved, and she's clearly the unpopular opinion. But that happens, and it's okay. And I think so many of us have this fear that we're going to put out content and it's going to be like, this is our one chance. You're putting out your first self-published book and it's your one chance. And if nobody reads it, you're done. And that's really not how it works. You put out a book, and if that one doesn't sell, you put out another book. And if that one doesn't sell, you put out another book. Learning as you go, get better, tweak it. Maybe your cover's not quite right. Maybe there's something in your blurb. Maybe what you're writing about just doesn't have a wide audience. All of those things are possible. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't put it out there. It doesn't mean you have nothing to bring to the table. And it doesn't mean that just because the book that you put out yesterday that's gotten 2 people reading it, that doesn't mean that 5 years from now, 100 people or 1,000 people aren't going to be reading your books. One thing that I wanted to kind of talk about with my own experience, and mind you, I'm not in the 100,000 reader category, by far. I put a book out and some people read it. I generally have page reads every month, and I have sales every month, but I'm definitely not a big name, and I know that. But my stuff's still out there, and more people are reading it than if I didn't put it out there at all. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes because it can be really disheartening to feel like you've put your whole heart and soul into your art, and then you put it out there and the reception is just kind of meh. A few people read it, nobody reviews it, so you don't know if they liked it to begin with. It's a tough world being a creative. Similarly with my YouTube channel. This is actually my second channel. I have another channel that is floating around the internet somewhere because I don't remember my Google information to take it down. But when I put it up, I was focusing on, I had written and never published a book for homeschoolers on creative writing because I was homeschooled and I love homeschooling. My best friend's a homeschooler and I'd wanted to homeschool my kids, but life didn't work out that way. But anyway, so I'm very pro homeschooling. So I'd written this homeschooling book for, young teenagers. My goal was 12 to 16 was kind of my age range of how to write stories. And I wanted to make it into a YouTube channel because I thought, well, that way the kids can read the book, they can watch my videos, it'll be great. And I started making videos, and I think I made maybe six. Six might be generous. It was probably closer to 4. And I shared them on social media. And one of my absolutely wonderful, well-meaning friends said something about, these don't look very professional and nobody's probably going to watch them. And I thought, well, I don't know how to do any better than this because this is what I have. This is the knowledge I have. This is the equipment I have. And especially at this stage, I just can't do much better. You know, I don't have the money to go buy fancy equipment, and it is what it is. So I just stopped. I just said, clearly, this is not what I should be doing. I'm not going to do it. Except that I really, really wanted to have a YouTube channel. And it took me years to get to a place. And I have a friend who's a YouTuber. And I went to him, I said, I'm worried it's not going to be very good. I'm worried I don't have this stuff. He said, you know, a lot of people care more about what you have to say than how pretty you look saying it. And he wasn't being mean, by the way. But, you know, he talked to me about the light that I have now, actually, because I have this little, I will show you, this little light, which is what I use for all my videos, and I use a laptop. And, you know, I hope to eventually get a fancy schmancy camera, but this is what I have today. And you have to use the equipment you have today and start putting out your content because you're going to learn along the way. It's not just about putting stuff into the world, it's also about learning, and you can't learn unless you make mistakes. So I'm putting stuff out and I'm learning all about YouTube. And like one lesson leads to another lesson, leads to another lesson. And my hope is that in 5 years, I'll have a really viable YouTube channel. I'll have equipment that I understand how to use. I'll feel comfortable in front of a camera. I'll have experience editing. It'll all be stuff that I get. And, you know, I know it's not perfect, but that's kind of the point. You have to learn somewhere. And especially if you're gonna go self-publishing and you're not gonna go traditional, you really have to learn somewhere along the way because you don't have experienced people to guide you. You kind of are on your own. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the whole point. You're learning and you're still creating beautiful art and putting it into the world. And I would say this is true for artists, this is true for YouTubers, everybody. You know, learn as much as you can, but don't be afraid that your stuff's not perfect, so you don't want to put it into the universe. Don't be afraid that, oh, you know, my lighting's not perfect, so I better not become a booktuber. Become a booktuber. I'll watch your book reviews. I don't always even have the screen on. I'm usually doing other things, but I still like to hear about books. I like to hear discussions on important writer topics, and I don't care if you've got a dog in the background that occasionally shakes his chain. Lindsay Broker. I love her, by the way. She is amazing, and everybody should follow the sci-fi and fantasy marketing podcast. But, you know, if you look at their stuff, and I am a huge fan, like a huge fan, they're not doing anything fancy, but they just have really good topics. And that's not a dig at them at all. That is me saying these people are wonderful and have given me so much influence as a writer. And, you know, I don't think they're doing anything really insane equipment-wise either. But they're still doing it, and that's what's important. And to be a writer, you really have to have the spirit of fearlessness. So get out there, tell your story, whatever story it is you want to tell that is important to you. Just get out there and tell your story and don't worry about what people will think or if people will judge you. Because I'm going to tell you now, they will judge you. But who cares? Most of the people who are judging you, they're not your tribe. They're not people who can appreciate your work. And that's a fair thing. Like I said, I read a lot of writers who just aren't for me. That doesn't mean they're not good writers. It just means I'm not their tribe. I'm not their intended audience. And maybe the people that are hating on your stuff aren't your people. And that's okay. You know, get better, learn from your mistakes. I'm certainly not advocating, you know, half-ass work. But when you've gone as far as you can and you're doing the absolute best you're capable of, then do it fearlessly. one of the things I wanted to talk about in this fearless thing, I'm about to take a fearless leap. And I am scared to death, but I plan to do it anyway, assuming I can learn the equipment. So just because it affects my writer's corner, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it here. But I'll probably mention it a few other times on my channel. I am hoping to start interviewing other writers. I need to learn how to do a Hangouts on air, which is a thing that YouTube has where you can interview people and you're both on the screen. I've never done that and I don't know how it works. But I'm going to hopefully this week be experimenting with a friend who has offered to be my guinea pig. And it is not a show that will ever go live because it is literally just going to be us pushing buttons and me learning how to do stuff. But once I learn, I want to start interviewing authors. And yes, I'm totally going to start with people who I know who will probably be like, you're my friend, I might do it for you just because you're my friend. But then I'm ultimately going to run out of friends because I only have like, you know, as many as I can count on my fingers of author friends. And then I'm going to have to reach out to people I don't know. And I'm going to have to say, I have a teeny tiny YouTube, but I want you to come and talk to me and my people anyway. And I am scared to death. And there's a lot of good logical reasons I shouldn't bother. My YouTube at the moment, as I'm recording this, has about 55 followers. 55 people. Probably most of which are my friends in real life. But you know what? I'm still going to reach out and ask, and I'm probably going to have a heck of a lot of people tell me, no, it's not worth their time. And I totally accept that and I respect that. But my hope is that a few will say, sure. And I'll be able to learn a lot and create great content for you guys. So here's to being fearless. It is a journey, and one good thing is the more you are fearless, the more you'll just get fearless because you'll realize that when you fall on your face, it's not that long of a way down. I've totally put out books to crickets. I've put out books that I was in love with and I thought was my best work to date, and nothing. Or worse, people not liking them, people not receiving them well, and me sitting here going, but that's the best book I ever wrote. What's wrong with you people? But you learn. You learn that those things don't take you down, and you have to just be fearless. So I am telling you today, just put your fears aside and to do your art. Do your art, put it in the world, and be fearless. All right, guys, this is Jane. I talk about author topics on on Wednesdays. Mondays, Fridays, and usually Saturdays, I'm doing reader-related topics. So I do book reviews, things like that on my channel. Sometimes I do movie reviews, and sometimes I do wrap-ups and things like that. This was started more of as a writer's channel, but became a booktube channel because I'm absolutely in love with booktube because I'm a huge book person. I'm a geek. Anyway, my social media is below. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I hope to see you with amazing interviews coming up in the next 3 to 4 months. Talk to you guys later. Bye.